Happy holidays, everybody. I'm Zeus Kerravala from ZK Research, and I'm here for day 5 of the 12 days of Cloudmas. Now, I'm joined by John Hernandez, SVP and GM of Engage MultiCloud for Genesys. Say hello, John.
Hey, what's happening? Good to see you.
So this is day 5 of Cloudmas, and before we start, I've been asking everybody this. This is a bit of an easy question. Do you know what the 5th day of Christmas was? What the gift was?
Oh man,
Oh, come on.
I have no idea.
Oh, 5 golden rings.
Oh, there you
And
go.
right? And then we get into all the birds for some weird reason. They like to give birds out, but yeah, it was 5 rings. I'm disappointed you didn't know that. So, nonetheless, we'll hold it against you. Now, John, I've known you for a long time. You were in the contact center industry, and Genesys is one of the leading contact centers. In fact, if you look at the Gartner CCAS MQ, you are the leading contact center vendor. You left it for a while. You were doing some other things. You went to a couple of interesting companies, and now you're back in contact center. So as an analyst, I like to cover markets in transition. I also didn't cover contact center for a while. Now I'm really excited. But in your own words, what excites you about this market now that maybe it didn't before?
Yeah, and we've talked about this a lot over the last few years, is this whole convergence of marketing, sales, and service, which call center fits right in the foundation of, but marketing really being added to that. And in my previous gig, being in the MarTech automation space, seeing those worlds come together, shopping baskets, demand gen, all that stuff tying into the contact center to give context for relevance and driving experience as a service is just an exciting thing that brought me back to Genesys, given Tony Bates's view of the world from the contact center perspective. My view coming in from the MarTech space really came together nicely and is showing as a pretty big disruption in the overall customer experience world.
Yeah, that's been an interesting trend in that when companies move their contact center to the cloud, everybody thinks the contact center being the unfriendly agent on the other side that asks your mother's maiden name 15 times. But in fact, it's much broader than that, right? One of the companies I talked to recently that moved to the cloud moved 50 agents over, and then they added 100 more users that had nothing to do with the contact center. It's, as you mentioned, marketing, sales, inside sales. So that trend is here to stay, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And it comes through the combination of data sources, consumer profiles, buying triggers, shopping baskets, employee data, and mixed in with AI to really automate a lot of that process. I mean, here's a simple one that hits us all the time, right? We're on a website trying to buy something, put it in a shopping basket, have a question. So I chat or I send an email or I pick up the phone. That now goes to the call center and has left marketing altogether. Yet the call center has no idea that I have a shopping basket when it's just a simple database dip, as we know in the call center world. Say, Hernandez has a pair of shoes in the shopping basket. That's what he wants to talk to somebody about. Don't put him through the authentication 50 times, and don't put him through an IVR. Come on now, right? That's what everybody wants.
Yeah, and knowing you, they're an expensive pair of shoes. So now you mentioned your CEO Tony Bates, who's a great guy, very thoughtful person actually. He's been talking a lot about this trend called experience as a service. So what the heck is experience as a service?
Yeah, it's everything that we've just been talking about as the attributes, but at the fundamental piece of it is putting the consumer or business buyer at the center of the equation versus having to navigate the silos of corporations. And when you can drive those personalized, proactive engagements with empathy tied into it, like empathy is really important here. And empathy isn't just about being nice to people, it's about listening to their needs and being responsive to it. You're going to drive that loyalty that every brand under the sun is looking to do. And that really comes through the things like we've been talking about, a combination of marketing, sales, and service. Remove the departmental silos and really service that customer with the data and AI that you have at your fingertips as a corporation. You're really going to impress and drive that engagement for that long-term loyalty.
Well, empathy is an interesting thing. And if your platform does that, I need my cable operator, my mobile phone company, and other companies I deal with to start using your platform. So they don't have that sometimes. You know that, and you brought up empathy, which I'm glad, because a lot of the new features that have been brought into contact centers, I talked to some agents and people, and they think they're going to get replaced by virtual bots and things like that. Is the human going away here?
Nah, not at all. The AI is offsetting a lot of traffic, but it's also assisting the humans to be more productive and more insightful and personalized in their approach. So what we're starting to see in the traffic now over the last few months here is all channels are rising, phone and digital channels. But the big trend is the automation of a lot of these chat sessions is really allowing for the maximum coverage with things like chat and WhatsApp and Apple Business Chat and those types of things, because the automation can help with so much of that before a human gets involved. And then on the human side, the agent assistance, the next best action, the predictive routing, the predictive engagement just makes the humans that much more smarter about being engaging with that consumer and driving results there. So again, everything is rising from what we're seeing.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, the importance of the phone. We've been talking in industry. Oh my God, John, we've been talking about the phone going away for decades now, and people are using the phone more than ever. And I was talking with the CIO of one of the mobile payment companies, and they said when they put their platform in place, they had no phone channel because they thought they're targeting millennials. They're all going to want to come through chat. And what they realized was a very important lesson, that when people want to talk about money, right, they want to talk to somebody. And the same can be true for healthcare and things like that. If it's important to you, you want to talk to a person, and you're not doing that over an agent. So.
Yeah, it's still, phone still plays a pivotal role in the overall customer experience and driving that. I mean, here's one for you, right? My father, he's in his 70s. He's on Gmail. He's trying to use FaceTime with my kids to stay connected. And he's really getting into the technology. But there's one thing he can't do. He cannot change his Gmail password online. For some reason, he can't figure it out. And surprisingly enough, I had no idea, Google has a call center that he can pick up the phone and change his password, believe it or not. So there's even some of these little niche applications that are still using the phone beyond the big banks.
I had no idea that was the case. Now, one of the more interesting announcements you guys had was this thing called MultiCloud, which I found kind of fascinating, because when you look at the CCaaS, the cloud contact center vendors, there's a lot of vendors out there that claim to be cloud contact centers, but in fact, what they have is an older platform that they just kind of picked up and lift and shifted into the cloud. And so, I don't know, is that cloud? Maybe it's cloudish, I suppose, but it doesn't give you the same cloud scale that cloud native does. And so you guys actually have a true cloud native thing under this thing called, and what's the MultiCloud?
Yeah. So look, at the end of the day, it's all about flexibility, control, and innovation. That's what corporations are looking for. And so what MultiCloud does is it provides an industry initiative led by Genesys that allows for multiple options of deployment and utilization. You want a pure SaaS platform from Genesys? We have that on Azure and AWS for corporations to consume straight away. You want to make sure that that can integrate into other vendors in a multi-vendor world that most of these large enterprises have. It has those attributes as well, because again, it's an industry initiative led by us with many other partners in the boat with us on that. And if you want to have more control in your own cloud infrastructure, for instance, if you're a large bank and you've already made a commitment to IBM Financial Services Cloud or Google Cloud or Oracle Cloud or Azure, you want the ability to take those containers and run them in your own instance to have a workload that satisfies the contract you made with them. So again, you get that flexibility and control of consumption, and then innovation across the board when it comes to things like IWD from us for task management and workflow. We're completely disrupting the workforce engagement management marketplace out there. And then all the AI capabilities of predictive engagement, predictive routing. That's really what MultiCloud's all about: flexibility, control, and innovation.
That's awesome. And I guess one of the big benefits there is that it breaks that vendor lock-in that people have been stuck in for years and creates a lot more agility. So, and I think the ability to run on multiple clouds is important too, because I've done a lot of research with the cloud computing vendors, and they all have different strengths in different regions, right? Like Microsoft's strong in, in the Gulf region, Amazon in Asia and things like that. So it's pretty cool. Now, we are in December, right? It's the holiday season. And one of the great things about the holiday season is, as an analyst, I get a lot of gifts. But besides that, it's time for predictions. So I want you to look into your crystal ball and tell us what to expect for the contact center industry in 2021.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a continued acceleration of what we've been talking about at the beginning here around experience as a service. I think we're seeing more and more organizations create chief digital officer, chief customer engagement officer, chief experience officer. And as those things happen, we're starting to see responsibilities blend between organizations, marketing, sales, service, which traditionally have been siloed in the past, and IT kind of being the fabric underneath. Now we're seeing it at a business level of understanding how to really drive these proactive, personalized interactions. And I think that's only going to accelerate as we move into the next year and as we come out of COVID. The other piece that ties into that we're seeing is corporations are preparing for the vaccine and hopefully getting back to some sort of normal life pre-COVID after we get through this. And so they're leaning in hard to really be ready for that, like big logos that have been affected really negatively by this pandemic, getting ready for that to come out. And that's going to be another big wave that I think we're going to see in the mid 2021 timeframe.
Yeah, well, there you have it. You've got a whole new experience coming if you're a consumer. And if you're dealing with companies, and I'll tell you this from my own personal experience, if you're dealing with companies that have that old legacy experience, don't do business with them. There's no greater catalyst to change than changing your loyalties to a brand. And there's so many choices out there, there's nothing wrong with that. So this is day 5 of the 12 Days of Cloudmas. I'll be back on day 6 coming soon. For this, I want to thank John Hernandez and from Genesys for joining me. Thank you very much. Happy holidays and happy Cloudmas.
Happy holidays. Be well.